Hey friends, hop in and buckle up. Welcome back to another episode of Rides of Faith Driven by Grace. I'm Ed, and on this channel, we're exploring life, faith, and grace as we travel on this road to eternal life. Today, I want to share an inspiring story that reminds us of God's amazing provision and the power of following His promptings. Recently, I gave a ride to two wonderful ladies. Phyllis, who was headed to the hospital, and her caretaker, Debbie. Right away, Debbie noticed the Christian music playing, and we all realized we shared a common faith. We ended up having an incredible conversation that really touched my heart. One of the topics we got on was homelessness in our city, and that's when Debbie shared something that gave us all goosebumps. She told us about this elderly man she had recently encountered. He was wearing what looked to be like only a hospital gown and had on a pair of flimsy plastic kid-like shoes. Debbie and her husband felt led to check on him. And when he mentioned he needed a ride to the bus stop, they offered to drive him there. But that wasn't all. As they were getting him settled at the bus stop, Debbie felt prompted to ask him if he would like her black tennis shoes instead of those uncomfortable kid plastic shoes that he was wearing. When he said yes, she took them off her own feet and gave them to him. And wouldn't you know it? By God's grace, they fit. They also called for some additional help to make sure he was safe. Debbie told us that giving up her shoes just felt like the right thing to do. She followed God's nudge, even though she didn't know how this might work out. But here's where it gets really interesting. When Debbie went to visit Phyllis a little later, Phyllis, without knowing anything about this entire situation, had two pairs of shoes she wanted to give her. We all felt this wave of emotion as Debbie explained how Phyllis handed over not one but two pairs of shoes. It was as if God was saying, I saw what you did, and I'm going to bless you even more. And here's the kicker. Debbie was wearing one of those pairs of shoes, a pair of black Skechers. She had been wearing it during our whole ride together. Isn't that amazing? You know, when we step out in faith, God shows up in ways we can't even imagine. This story reminded me of a powerful truth. When we follow God, when we follow where He's leading us, whether it's something big or something small, He has a way of providing for us. Debbie didn't give away her shoes expecting anything in return, but God saw her act of generosity, and He blessed her twofold. It's like Luke 6:38. Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure pressed down, shaken together, and running over will be poured out into your lap. Generosity isn't just about money. It's about our time, our resources, and even something as simple as a pair of shoes. When God nudges us to give and help someone, it might be because He has a plan to bless them and us in ways we never expect. So how can we live with that same spirit of generosity and trust in God's provision? Here's a few things I've learned. 1, be open to God's leading. Sometimes God prompts us in small ways. When we feel a nudge, let's be willing to say yes. 2, trust God to provide. Giving doesn't mean we'll have less. In fact, God often returns blessings in unexpected ways. 3, recognize God's hand in everyday moments. Moments like this remind us that God is actively working in our lives, even in the little things. And 4, encourage others. Your story and sharing these stories of God's provision, it encourages others to step out in faith. The story with Phyllis and Debbie reminded me to look for ways God might be prompting us to show His love in small, tangible ways. If you've ever felt that nudge to give or to help someone and wondered, is this really worth it? I hope this story encourages you. God is faithful. He sees our acts of love, and He knows how to meet our needs in ways we can never arrange ourselves. Remember, when you live with open hands, God often fills them in ways that go beyond what we could imagine. Debbie gave a pair of shoes, and God returned her kindness through Phyllis. Isn't that incredible? We don't always know how he'll show up or when he'll show up, but we can trust that he will. And if you've experienced a God moment like this, or have ever felt that nudge to help someone, I'd love to hear about it. Drop a comment below, and let's encourage one another. Thanks again for riding along today. If this story blessed you, hit those like and subscribe buttons so you won't miss any of the next episodes. And until the next time, keep the faith and pouring out the grace.